Your favorite besties are back for another episode of No Ma'am. I'm your host, Willie Will, and this is my co-host.
Jhoany, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of No Ma'am.
All right, friends. So today we are diving into the first 5 episodes of the Amazing Race Season 37 and what we are calling our Roadblock Realness. But don't worry, we're going to give you into all of these details so you don't have to think about it. But it's also going to be like a high level overview and recap of the season so we can get everybody caught up to speed. So I am going to share my screen because I love to do this and this is great. Like I feel
You
like a
were an over.
teacher.
I was about to say you were an overachiever in school, weren't you?
I was an overachiever in school. It's just something that I love doing. Like I
I
just love
wasn't.
it. It just feeds my soul. Okay. So for this season, we see that every leg there's going to be kind of like a twist. Some of the twists may be from a previous season, like a fast forward, and then some of them may be completely new. Like we got the driver's seat. And we have 14 teams competing, which is also a first. And so the teams are we have Jackie and Lauren, we have Scott and Lori, we have Erica and Melinda, we have Jonathan and Anna, Nick and Mike, we have Pops and Jeff. Even though so it's Big Jeff and Little Jeff, I didn't know that his name was actually Jeff. And I was like, oh, okay.
We just call him Pops. Everyone just calls
Wait,
him
we
Pops.
everybody calls them Pops, right? We have Mark and Larry, we have Ernest and Bridget, Courtney and Jasmine. And then we also have
Did
um,
you mention Han and
Han.
Holden?
No, I'm about to do it right now.
Oh, okay,
Oh, and
okay.
Han and Holden. Then we have Han and Holden, Carson and Jack, Bernie and Kerrigan, Alyssa and Josiah, and last but not least, we have Brett and Mark, who you may remember from season 16 of RuPaul's Drag Race. He, Mark, was Safira Cristal's makeover partner.
Yeah, he's a dancer on. Oh, I don't know if he still is. Honestly, I haven't kept up. He is was maybe he still is a dancer on Drag Race Live in Vegas.
And so we don't really get to see that. He doesn't say that. He just says that he's like a Vegas performer. So he may not have like the copyrights to put it on a different
That
network.
could they're like competing things, I guess. So maybe that's why competing
Probably,
shows. I
right?
don't know.
Yeah, even though you think of it, like RuPaul's Drag Race does come on Paramount, and this is also like Paramount, so I don't know, maybe. But okay, so episode one starts off with Phil telling the teams that they will be experiencing the first ever fork in the road. And so essentially, because we have 14 teams, there will be not one, but two eliminations. And so season 37 is starting off real strong with the eliminations.
I love this twist. Um, like having like essentially having them run two separate races, I thought was so good because we get to see kind of double the fun ish. But I also just like the twist of oh, two of you are going home, and like
Right.
you, I also like the twist that you don't know who's going home on the other side of it. Like you don't know who you're going home with essentially. Like so, I just thought that was really fun. Really wanted this to continue on for a couple more episodes. I want this to come back later in the season. Just again, I really enjoyed it.
The fork in the road.
And
So my
yeah,
question is, do you like non-elimination legs, or should we go back to having some like elimination legs and non-elimination legs?
I kind of like the surprise non-elimination ones just for the TV of it, like the drama kind of like you never know, like oh my God, is this like they're I know they're the last team, but like is this gonna be the one where they save them, or is it, or are they actually gonna go home? Like we never know. Even if they're the last place team, if they're the last ones to the mat, we don't actually know whether or not they're going home, and I like that. I like the surprise element of it.
Right.
What
Same.
I did really sorry, what I did really like about this twist also was kind of the thought process that you had to choose when it comes to deciding which way to go. You're like, okay,
Hmm.
do I go left and maybe pick a challenge that I know I'm good at, even though there's like five people ahead of me already, and possibly risk me being in the back for this? Or do I go right where like maybe there's only like one or two teams ahead of me and I don't know this challenge, or like I feel like I'm going to struggle with this, but I might have more of a chance of being in the lead. So I
Yeah.
thought again, that's why I really enjoyed it and I wanted to see it again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I think it made a lot of sense because essentially, right, you think of it, it is. either, right, they're going to do a challenge in which they know they can do, right, or a detour, excuse me, right, if you want to use the correct terminology for the Amazing Race. They're going to do a detour in which they know they can do, or they're going to do a detour in which, like, well, not too many people are doing it, so maybe from the first one in this,
Mhm.
I can finish it and I'm out, right? So it's always that push and pull piece. But we see that the teams are racing from LAX to be one of the first teams on the first flight to Hong Kong. And once they're there, they need to find the large Buddha to find the next clue. And I was like, oh my God, this is a huge Buddha, like at the top of this like park. I was like, wow. Normally when they said a big Buddha, I'm thinking, oh, it's like a big Buddha. No, bitch, this is a big Buddha. And like, whoa. And right off the bat, we see which teams are going to be some strong contenders in the race, right? Because we saw Jack and Carson ahead of the pack. Obviously, I think they said that Jack was like either Jack or Carson lives in LA, so they probably knew how to maneuver. I think they said
Think it was Carson who previously lived in LA.
right. I know one of them lived in there. Go ahead.
Let me preface everything by saying I suck at names and I'm sorry. I'm gonna forget a lot of these names. I'm gonna mix a lot of these names up. I apologize. I'm terrible with names.
Jhoany
All I
really
want is
is
don't take
terrible
it
with
personal.
names.
Don't take it
Like
personal. I might call
he really
Carson
is.
Jack. I might call Jack Carson. I might call Jack Brett. Like, girl, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
But yes, there's a lot. There's well, in this for the Amazing Race, there is a lot of names and there is a lot of teams. So
20,
yes, it can get it
28.
it can be a little confusing. But on
Yes.
the first flight, we see that Jonathan and Anna, Carson and Jack, Erica and Melinda, and Courtney and Jasmine are on the first flight, which is a 1 hour difference between the first and the second flight. But everyone else, unfortunately, gets on the second flight.
Hmm.
But when they touch down in Hong Kong, the teens need to take a taxi to the large Buddha. But, child, listen, we talked about this, but we saw all them steps. I would be out of breath just looking at the steps.
Oh, but so speaking of the steps, one of the teams really struggled with it, like more than all the other ones, and that was give me a second. That was Jackie and Lauren. I don't remember which one again. That
Yes,
as a
yes.
pair, yes, because one of them again traumatic history with steps. Get it, but girl, you're going on the Amazing Race. You know they love making you guys walk up these damn steps that go on for like a mile. Why the fuck would you go on? Like, okay, I don't want to be insensitive, but at the same time, like, girl, be realistic. You know they're gonna make you climb steps. You should have prepared for that.
True, but at least she was honest, right? And gave us a backstory. And she said that
Yes,
she had a fear. She did overcome the fear, though. She did make it down the steps.
yes, yes, yes. Commend her. Great TV. Realistically, if you want to win $1 million, prepare for
Yes.
that. I'm sorry.
But like I said in the beginning, right, we're seeing which teams are strong contenders in this race. And right off the bat, we get to see that Jonathan and Anna and Jack and Carson are in the lead, right? So
Oh
they are
yeah.
leading the top of the pack. And after they get their clue, they need to try and catch a ferry to get the next clue, right? But Jonathan and Anna is the only team that was able to make the first ferry, which gave them about 30 minutes to an hour ahead of the other ferry.
Hmm.
And then the majority, which kind of solidifies the lead for Jonathan and Anna at that point,
Yeah.
because majority of the other teams had to get on the second ferry. And then, unfortunately, because of her fear of steps, which hindered Jackie and Lauren. So Jackie and Lauren was the only team on that last ferry. So based on just like mathematical equations and time, Jackie and Lauren is statistically in last place. Like they're at this point,
It's
it really is
last,
anything
last, last, last. Yeah.
like they're in last place. They need
And
a
I
Hail
think,
Mary in order for them to make a comeback right
yeah,
now.
yeah. They poor things. It's always so sad. I hate to be in ages, which I'm not. It's not me trying to be that, but it's so sad to me when like older couples come or like older people come and they struggle because I just want them to succeed so badly because I'm always gonna root for the underdog. So I love
Hmm.
when we get an older person that can absolutely kill it. And I'm like, yeah, fuck you, young bitch. Sorry, that was very aggressive. Like, you know, like they kind of eat the younglings up.
Yes.
I just live for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so because the majority of because Jonathan and Anna was on the first ferry, they are the first ones to complete the roadblock. And so by that time, they're already at the ferry dock to get back onto the ferry to go back to the main island. But I do want to talk a little bit about the roadblock, which is who's ready for some ups and downs. And there was a point in which Brett ran up that tree And
He's climbing like that any day.
we text each other. It was like, holy shit. We was like, Brett, you fucking better.
Way Brad, like one, he was like he was ready. He was like, just give me the go ahead. Like, girl, come on, like, can I go? Can I go? And then like everybody, we like obviously there's like six other people climbing. Then we just see him like literally like a monkey. I was like, oh my
Yes.
God.
Mind you,
Like I
it's raining, and so like the little bamboo like pole is
super
wet.
slippery.
It's super
Super
slippery.
and you see like how difficult it is because you see everybody else struggling. Even the ones who are athletic, you see them struggling. And this boy just zipped up that damn tower so fast. I was like, ooh, I did not know that could be a turn on. Like, ooh, I need a minute. Mark, I get it. I get it, Mark. I get it. But that, like, I was just like, from then on, I was like, ooh, that's who I want to
Yes.
win right there.
Yes. Yes. They did great in comparison to how everyone else is looking at Brett go up that tree. Or like
That was when they're all like, oh my God.
they
Like,
were
can he
like,
be our
what the
partner?
hell is happening?
Like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. It was really funny. It was really nice to watch him just, and I
It
mean, come
was.
on, we're obviously going to be rooting for the queer team
I
or one
mean,
of the queer
hello.
teams because there's
One of the
several.
things. Yes. Which I love that, right? The representation. We need more representation, like on
Yes.
shows like The Amazing Race, to show that, yeah, we have Drag Race, we have that, which is a competition for us. It's like our gay Super Bowl, but we can still compete on challenges and shows that are very like athletic. So I
Yeah.
think it's
And
great.
also, I love that. I don't really know about the demographic exactly when it comes like to the viewers of the Amazing Drag Race, the Amazing Race, but I feel like it's predominantly like heterosexual people who watch the
Hmm.
Amazing Race. So it's kind of nice to have that exposure on that scale and being like,
Yes,
hey,
I
like
agree.
we can compete with y'all on anything.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's great. But in true Amazing Race fashion, 1 minute you may be in the lead, another minute we have the great equalizer. And so you
Hmm.
never know, right? So that's why you can never really take your leads for granted, because you'll never know, because you can turn around and you'll be in the front and then you'll be stopped, right? Because the place may not open until 8 a.m. the next morning. And so which gives everyone an opportunity to catch up. And we see that where Jonathan and Anna's lead is pretty much non-existent anymore, because everyone now is finished with the roadblock and they're all waiting to get the ferry back, except Lauren and Jackie.
So I would love to say that I would be like Brett when it came to that challenge, but realistically, I'd be more like Lauren and Jackie and like struggling to just even get up like that initial like step, whatever you want to call it. Like that would be me. I would love to say in my French vanilla fantasy, I would be like Brett and climb that like really fast. Realistically, I'd be flopping real hard. But I
I would,
commend her for being able to finish it because Lord God, I
yes,
would have looked at that and been like, ooh,
she did, right.
I'll take the
You
penalty,
know, I,
girl.
I think that's great. Like, and I think that's
Yeah.
also a testament to getting on the race and using this as like, something on your bucket list for you to be able to do things that you probably won't ever do. And I think it was a really great opportunity to see. I either forget who, if it was Lauren or if it was Jackie. I apologize, but one of them did complete the roadblock, and it was great. So then we are hit with the fork in the road, which teams need to decide which detour they will complete. Either sing or either dance, with space for 7 teams at each of the detours. And then at the pit stop, we will have not only two winners, but we would also have two eliminations, right? So
Hmm.
one winner from each group, and then one team eliminated from each group. So which detour would you have wanted to do? Sing or
Dance.
dance?
Dance, girl. I am tone deaf as flipping jacks. I'm not gonna be making a fool of myself on national TV with my vocals. And as I don't know, I really love that particular style of dancing, like the dragon. From like a couple years ago, I discovered it on TikTok, and I really like started to dig deep. I really started to like appreciate it. So that would have been really fun for me, like to be able to do that. Because like if you see like the actual professionals do it, like it's mesmerizing, it's amazing. Like I'm like I I watch it and I still like fully believe I'm like, oh, that's a dragon. That's not two or three people in there. That's a dragon, fully.
Yeah.
So I know I would not look like that if I were to do it, but for the fun of it, I would have chosen that one.
Nice. I think I would have done sing. I would have enjoyed that one a little bit more because for some reason I like to sing in other languages. I think it's fun to learn it and the different like affectations and that stuff. I think it's just like, have to think of it like phonetically, but also sonically and try to do it. So I think it would probably be fun. All right. So the winners for sing, we have Alyssa and Josiah. And then the winners for dance, we have obviously Carson and Jack. And then the teams that are eliminated, we have Lauren and Jackie who are eliminated for sing, and Mark and Larry got eliminated for dance. So we had to say goodbye to those two teams.
This was very sad. Again, kind of calling back to what I said earlier, just because I'm almost always gonna root for like the older team or like people who will typically be seen as the underdogs. So to see like kind of two of these pairs be eliminated was very sad to me.
Yes.
I would have
I
liked
mean,
to see more of
but
them.
on the other hand, right, we have to give kudos to Mark and Larry because they did put up a good fight.
They
They
did.
just got
They did.
outrun by like two other teams, but that elimination was really close. Jackie and
Yeah.
Lauren's elimination, we saw that because they never was able to catch up with majority of the
No.
group.
That
So
was really sad to see. I think for me that was sadder than Mark and Larry's because again, like you said, Mark and Larry put up a fight. It just ended up being like a circumstantial thing. Like if it had been one team eliminated, down would have been Jackie and Lauren.
right,
Facts are facts. But I thought that was sadder to see that they were never really able to kind of catch up to them.
yeah,
But I huge round of applause for them for being able to complete the challenges and show these younglings that hey, I can do it too.
this is true. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to episode 2. We get, right? So the teams need to fly from Hong Kong to Osaka, Japan. And we get to see an amazing race classic, the intersection. And so the intersection is when two teams need to team up and they essentially become a new team and they have to complete like a roadblock or a particular task, right? Within a time period. So for a brief period, they become a whole new team. And so in the beginning of this leg, we see that Jack and Carson and Mark and Brett are in the front of the pack. And a few of the teams are lost because they are going to the wrong travel agency. Now, we all know if you're in a different country, it's going to be really hard because you need to understand the language. And if you don't understand the language, that is, you're at a disadvantage.
See, in my French vanilla fantasy, if I were ever to compete, I'd be like, bitch, you learning three new languages, I'm learning three new languages. Cause whatever country we end up in, one of us is gonna be able to have to communicate at least directionally, at least to be able to ask, where's the airport? Like that. Like, take me to the airport.
Yes. Yeah. Or like taxi or how to get directions. There's
Yes,
a
that.
few things in which if you know some buzzwords, then you'll be able to communicate like how much is this, right? Like, oh, how like into like the currencies and that stuff.
Mhm.
Like I think there's some things if you prepare to go on the Amazing Race, then you can like you don't have to know everything, but there's a few things that you can learn.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
exactly. Yeah.
All right. So at the intersection, we get to see that Ernest and Bridget get there first, and right after them, Brett and Mark, who happen to partner with Ernest and Bridget because Mark and Brett, I don't know, Matt and Brett, Mark and Brett, they have agreed that they will partner with whichever team comes in first, like that at that particular clue. But the Phil said something really important. He said it has to be a mutual agreement between the two teams. So if Mark and Brett wanted to play this strategically, they could
Could have
have
said no.
said no. But I just think Mark and Brett are just so nice. And it was the beginning of the competition. I don't think they wanted to make any enemies, which part of it is smart, but we see that this decision has some consequences.
And what's even sadder is not necessarily sad, but we see that like Carson and Jack coming right at like literally seconds later, and they're like, "You two," and they're like, "Sorry, we already said yes to this other team." And
Right.
can you imagine if they had paired up together?
Oh my
They would have
gosh.
been out there in 2.5 seconds. They would have been out of that challenge in 2.5 seconds.
Literally. Right? Which is a little bit foreshadowing because that actually happened.
Yeah,
And so we see that Ernest and Mark are competing the robot together, and we get to see that all like that pair in particular is not a match made in heaven, where some pairs were,
yeah.
but for this part, Ernest just could not get the hang of those drums. He could not get into the rhythm. And Mark, on the other hand, was like, I used to be like in band, which is, I don't know what it is about the gays. The gays are always in band. I don't know what it is.
I wanted to be in band so bad, but
I don't
in
know
middle
what it
school,
is.
I was not chosen for it. And in high school, my school was a tool shed. It didn't have no damn band. So I never got to be a part of that.
I don't know what it is about the gays, but the gays are always in band. They was in band camp, like band camp, band class. They oh like I
Theater
don't know
camp.
why. Theater camp. But we get to see that Mark is trying to guide Ernest through by like learning the music and helping him, but Ernest just could not get it, which unfortunately made all the other teams bypass Ernest and
Yeah.
Mark, who were the first ones at the actual roadblock.
Yeah, and you could see Mark's frustration as every team starts to leave. You really get to see it start affecting him, even though he doesn't want it to, and he's trying to be supportive to whatever his name is. Sorry,
Ernest,
Ernest. Um, because you can see again he's trying to be supportive, but at the same time you see the frustration get into him, and maybe him thinking like I should have gone for Carson and Jack. Like we
yes,
made a
right?
mistake. And you
Yep.
also see on the other hand the other team be like, I'm sorry we're screwing this up for you guys because you were
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
first place and now you're in the
Yeah.
back with us.
Yeah. Which, I mean, at that point, I felt for Ernest because there's but so much he can do because he was really trying, right? Like, and you could see, and I think that's probably why Mark didn't get so upset because he saw that at least Ernest was trying to give his best and it just
Hmm.
couldn't. But
Yeah.
speaking of a match that literally was a match made in heaven, was Jack and Carson and Jonathan and Anna because it seemed like they were in that roadblock for like 2.5 and then boom, they were out.
Yeah.
And so they pretty much ended up being the first teams out of that roadblock and the first ones to get to the detour. And so for the detour, the teams needed to pick between Mochi and Mawasi, which detour would you have picked?
Ochi. Hello, food all the time. Like when it comes to the like if I were in the Amazing Race, I would always go for the food challenges. Like, hello, that's my bread and butter, that's my passion, that's what I know more than anything in this that's me. So I already know how mochi's made. Have I ever made it? No. Do I know the process of it? Yes. So I would have gone for that one because I feel like I would have had the leg up on the other teams who probably didn't even know what mochi was, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I could have done well in either one. I think the other one also,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I would have
me,
picked
mochi.
Mawasi. I would have picked Mawasi because it's all about attention to details. And you know me, like I've said it on so many episodes
Yeah.
so far, right? I'm all about the details. And so I pick up on those little slight differences. And yeah, this might have been like so many different steps, but I would have been like, okay, got it. You need to go over here. You need to tie it around. You need to do this. And that's just me. Even though I probably could have done Mochi too, but at the same time, I probably would have gravitated towards more of the one that's detailed versus the one that you have to cook just because I would think that the one you have to cook would take a little bit longer. There's always an extra step in there
Yes.
somehow.
Yes. But again, me being like I love food, I've studied like not studied, but I tend to like once I find out about cuisine, I tend to kind of like find out all I can about it just because I don't know, I'm just a very curious person. So like I feel like I have a very wide range knowledge of food from like literally all over the world. So I feel like again I would have maybe a step up in on the other competitors just on the food aspect of it, just because I know a lot of it. Like I've seen a lot of seasons where the teams will struggle. Like I think there was
Hmm.
one with like they I don't remember what season what exactly challenge was, but it was something with like gyros and like they're all struggling to find out what it means or whatever. And I'm like, girl, that's what this is. Like I would have been in and out of there like in literally like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
And other teams spent hours and I'm like, girl. So yeah,
yeah,
anything food, I would definitely like instantly like, oh, we're doing that one.
yeah. No, I mean, I put that on my notes. I was like, Jhoany would probably choose Mochi because he loves to cook.
Yeah.
And so, like, that I kind of already knew what your answer would be. But for this leg, we see that Jonathan and Anna are the winners. And unfortunately, Ernest and Bridget are eliminated. So they really couldn't make up for the fact that they had such a bad like roadblock experience that they was not able to make it up in the detour. And unfortunately
Yeah.
they got bypassed. And so but they were a good sport about it. They were not sad. Well, they probably were sad, but they weren't visually like, oh my God,
Oh, you just
upset.
lost $1 million. I'd be fucking sobbing.
True, true, true. But they weren't that way, right? And I think it was great. I think because they were father and daughter, they just felt that even though they did lose the race, it was good to have like the competition to be there together. And I think that kind of superseded like the fact that they are no longer in the competition. All right. So this is where we get a little bit of the drama. A little bit, slight drama. Going into episode 3, right, we get to see the Express Pass. And we also get to see a new twist, a new surprise that they are calling the driver's seat, which is very important because this is the catalyst that kind of starts something in the episodes that follow, which
Yep.
I found to be super fun.
Yes.
But at the start of this episode, the teams need to ride the bullet train from Osaka to Kyoto. And we see that the teams are vying for the Express Pass are Jack and Carson, Scott and Laurie, and Jonathan and Anna. And so they have to play a game that is kind of like the Japanese version of like soccer. And so each person,
No, I was thinking more of like, yes,
hacky
kind of
sack.
soccer, hacky sack. Yes, that.
Yes, it was giving me hacky sack, but Phil explained it as like the Japanese version of soccer. And so I was like, okay, sure, if the host says it, so I guess. But right, but for the most part, each of the team, each of the players, they need to score 5 points. So they need to do 5 passes, right, in order for the ball to get off the floor, pass it to the next person without actually touching the ball with your hands. And so what I find to be really interesting, and I thought was very strategic and smart, was that Scott and Laurie eventually they was trying to get it, but once Scott got his 5 passes, Scott looked over to Laurie and he was like, "Do you want to do it?" And she said, "No, because 2 other teams is doing it, so let's just get out." And I thought
Yeah,
that was really smart because you
yeah,
have to know what would make sense for your game.
yeah, yeah. Once two teams are already competing for it, unless you are super confident in your ability to do it, yeah, I probably would have done the same thing. Honestly, like, nope, we're first place. Let's get out of here. Let's go get
Right.
ourselves a trip or something. Like, no.
It's true, right? You have to think of what's more smart for your gameplay at the moment. Is it more strategic to vie for the Express Pass and 2 other teams is there when you know that you may not be as competitive or as athletic as the other teams? So
Hmm.
there is always that when you got to think about it, right? But we see
Now,
that Jonathan, go ahead.
no, sorry. Actually, I was about to talk about Jonathan.
Okay. So we see, speaking of Jonathan, right? We see that he completes his portion of the roadblock super easy, really fast. He just knocks it out like nothing. But because he's very competitive, right, he finished his and he kind of forgot about Anna. And so she now needed to go because in order to get the express pass, both players, both team members need to get 5 passes. Anna, on the other hand,
Oh,
not
girl,
so
she was
much.
struggling. The struggle was
She
real.
was she was on the struggle bus. The bus was not running for her.
Yeah,
Was
and
not.
what I really I wasn't a huge fan of that team to begin with. Like, I wasn't like a fan, but I didn't dislike them either, Jonathan specifically. But I feel like this is the moment where we really start to see the cracks in that team. Like, his whole reaction to her not being able to complete it as quickly as he did really like put me off. I was like, girl, like, no, be supportive. Like, I'm sorry. I hate when these couples start to argue or they start to like kind of demean their partners. It just, no, like, you're in this together. Like, you're in this to win $1 million. Like, you should be supporting each other every step of the way. Like, don't put them down. And like, I don't know, that just rubs me the wrong way. Any couple that does it instantly rubs me the wrong way. And I'm like, ooh, no, send them home. They don't deserve it. Send them home. But yeah, that's just me.
This is true. No, that's true.
Still a really strong team. And I get it makes great TV. I just hate seeing that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I saw that he was getting frustrated with her. And at that moment, it wasn't the right time to get frustrated because if you're going for the express pass, you both need to get the 5 passes, right? Like, you both need to do it. And so, yes, in the heat of the moment, and you're competitive and you want to win, but you have to have words of encouragement because no one likes if they're doing bad for your partner to say you suck. Like, oh, you want to stop? Like, she wasn't saying that with you. but now all of a sudden she's not getting it as fast as you are. So now it's a problem. And so I think there is some miscommunication between the team that hopefully, if they last throughout the whole entire season and probably make it to the finale, that we can see them work on their communication skills. But like I said, Scott and Lori were the first ones out of that roadblock, and they were the first ones to get to the detour. And so they have to make a choice between fling it and fold it. But what I find to be really funny is that for some reason, all of the teams thought that fling it was the easier choice.
I wouldn't. I mean, for me, the easy choice was origami. Hi, I was again. I love doing origami, and y'all are. Everyone probably watches this, be like, "Oh, he does everything." I really am kind of a jack of all trades, but like origami
Sure.
specifically, like I was the kid in school, like middle school and parts of high school. Like I would get bored during class because like I had my work finished, and, like whatever. I would just start folding. And it wasn't like, yes, I'd be doing paper cranes, like small stuff like that. I was doing, fuck, what's that? I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's a type of origami that it's not just singular pieces. It's you make a whole bunch of pieces that then get put together. So I was making like these like big things. It wasn't like little paper cranes. I was like
Hmm.
really, really into it. So that for me, I wouldn't even have had to look at the demonstration. I would have been like, "Ooh, girl, just follow my steps. I know what to do."
Right.
Playing it though, I wouldn't have expected it to be that difficult. Nobody completed this challenge.
Nobody was able to do fling it, but I just
No.
found it to be really interesting that everyone thought that fling it was going to be the easier choice than fold it.
Well, I get it. Some people are not the type of people that pay attention, like that are good with attention to detail and kind of struggle with the craft aspects of anything. So I get that. Like they're probably like, oh, folding paper, like we're gonna struggle with that. Like I'm not coordinated, like I'm not that type of person, so I get that. They're probably like, oh, we can, yeah, we can just throw things. Like that's easy. I wouldn't have thought it was gonna be that hard, honestly.
I mean, I don't have hand-eye coordination. No, ma'am,
Well, girl,
I
that
don't. So that wouldn't have been an easy choice for me. I would have chose fold it right off the bat because I'm like, origami can do this. Details, got it. Those sharp lines, some sharp folds. I'm like, we got to get this. So just take my lead. Which I found to be interesting because Scott said that he did that with his 8 sons. So, mind you, in my head, I'm like, if you do this all the time, if you make the crane all the time with your sons, why you didn't choose this to begin with?
like again with me, like, girl, origami? Are you serious?
Right?
Like, girl, we if I'm in Japan and I see a challenge that says fold it or fling it, oh girl, I don't even want to know what fling it is. We going fold it. Like I'm grabbing you by the hair
Like
and like, girl,
folded. Context clues. You may not know what you're building, but you have an idea that it's probably going to be something of origami because you are in Japan.
yeah.
Right? So, like, that to me, and if it's something that you do on a daily basis with your family, you may have some kind of like leg up to it, and you may be able to take charge of it and be able to do it. And that's the name of the game. But their communication was really great. The other teams, not so much, because this is when we saw Han and Holden going
Girl. Again, I wasn't really paying attention to them just because they, as of this episode, they weren't like a standout. But then they get to that challenge, and then you just hear them start fighting. And it wasn't like a small argument, like they were going at it. And like I
yes,
get it. When my siblings piss me off, like we go at it. Like I get it. But girl, y'all are vying for $1 million. For $1 million, like we're not gonna be fighting like that. Hell no. We're gonna be
yes.
like the bestest of friends. And we're gonna
They
be
were
super nice
going
to each other.
in to the
To the
point where Nick and Mike was like siblings.
that and they kept getting distracted. Everybody else around them was like, they need to shut up.
Yes,
Like they're
yes,
making it more difficult for everyone else. Um,
yes.
I
Oh,
would have
Han and
been
Holden.
pissed. I would have been
Yes,
pissed.
that was. But it made for such great television, though. It was
Mm-hmm.
so good.
Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing television.
And,
But
yes, yes and no. Again, I hate when the teams start fighting because I'm like, oh, get it together. You're trying to win $1 million. Like, stop fighting. But
this is
yeah,
true.
yeah.
And but in the end, Scott and Lori win the leg. But unfortunately, go ahead.
Modular origami. That's what. Sorry, it was bothering me that I
Oh,
couldn't
like you needed
remember.
to figure out like what the
Yeah, I,
what
I,
it
I
was.
just couldn't.
Yes,
But yeah, I would
yes.
like literally like make a whole bunch of pieces, put it together, and yeah. Sorry. Now we can go on.
But yes, like I was saying,
Yeah.
Scott and Lori, they end up winning the leg. But unfortunately, Courtney and Jasmine are eliminated. And it was sad to
Yeah.
see them go because they were fairly in the middle.
Yeah.
But they made some directional like opportunity had some
Girl, it's all,
opportunities with directions.
that'll get the girls. I
Yeah,
mean, not
their
specifically
biggest
the girls, but you know what I
that
mean.
would get the girls, yes. But what got the girls was when they had to get the paper instructions and they had to put their paper in the water for I guess it's like magical ink for it to be
Yeah.
exposed. And then it dried and they had to go back and they just could not get a taxi. And the directions that like they just it was the dreaded
Yeah.
taxi.
And
Like
it's so sad to see a queer team go.
it was. It really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. I mean, always going to be rooted for the queers, but yeah, I mean,
Of course. No, it was good. Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. But again, right, in this team, they knew that they were racing their own race, which in this aspect, they knew that they were the only ones, and they knew they were last, which again, yeah, they were sad, but you know, you're going in there and you already have like a sense of calm because you're like, listen, we already know we're in last place. It is
Yeah.
what it is. Like, it's okay.
See, but I get that. I don't know if I'd be the same in that situation. I don't know. I mean, it could be again. We don't know because we're not in their shoes. We don't know exactly what they're experiencing. I feel like it would push me to go even like harder. Like, oh, we're in last place, but like we can be second or last. Like, let's get through it. Like, let's push. Let's do whatever we need to do. But again, we don't know what they're going through. We don't know their emotions. Yada yada
Yeah,
yada.
no, so
Yeah,
true. Yeah. Okay, so now let's get into episode four. So, in episode four, the teens need to fly from Kyoto, Japan to Bali, Indonesia, which is a tropical paradise. Like, I've always wanted to go to Bali. Bali reminds me of Eat, Pray, Love, which is my favorite movie, by the way. Uh,
I'll try it.
but I fucking love Eat, Pray, Love. Like, fucking Julia Roberts in that, that's like my movie. That like speaks to me. But I digress. The only reason why I won't go to Bali is because I don't like to fly, and that is a long ass flight.
I don't like to fly either, but I would do it. I just can't
True.
for other reasons that we won't get into.
Yes. Right. But we are introduced to a new surprise, which is called the driver's seat, which
Girl, the
essentially gives,
drama.
yes, which essentially gives one team the opportunity to dictate what the other teams do in the challenge. And so, which I found to be really funny, is out of all the teams, the first team that gets control of the driver's seat is none other than Jonathan and Anna. And for this, they're able to give out how many pounds of rice does each of the teams need to harvest during the roadblock. So they either can choose between 15 pounds, 20 pounds, or 25 pounds. And the way they distribute the weight are kind of weird to me because I was like, they kind of gave, like, it was random. Like, I was like, are they being strategic? Because maybe not.
They were partially in terms of like they knew who they wanted to give the 25-pound one to. Like they were
Okay.
like, we're gonna give it to the strong teams. I think everything else just was kind of like, oh well, just place it wherever. But I feel like the 25-pound ones were very strategic.
But no shade, like no shade to Nick and Mike. But like, are y'all checking for Nick and Mike and thinking Nick and Mike is a strong team? Where? Like
Girl.
at that
I get it.
point, like
If you look at them, yes. Like just physically
physically,
looking at them, you're like,
okay.
ooh, girl, those are ones to be feared. And we're looking at the way the competition has played out, girl. They're gonna
Right,
be
that's what
going
I'm
home
saying.
very soon.
Right,
No
like I'm
shade.
like, I can see that for Pops and Jeff because you look at those arms, you're like, oh my gosh, like, whoa, right? These are really like strong
They're
dudes.
literally lumberjacks. Like, hello. Like,
Yes,
yes, they're used to lifting heavy. They're used to this physical, hardish labor. Of course, you're
right.
gonna want to give them something difficult.
But you don't give, but you then you give Bernie and Kerrigan 25 pounds when they're literally like in the
I
back of
think
the
that,
pack.
I think that one was an unfortunate one of mixing things around, and it just ended
Probably.
up there. And it was like,
Yes.
well, they didn't notice they left them that, but like, yeah, that was
Yes.
unfortunate.
Yeah. So Jonathan and Anna, they give themselves, because they also have to give themselves weight, they give themselves 15 pounds, which is smart. Obviously, you like, duh. You're going to give yourself the easy weight because you want to get out of the roadblock as soon as possible. But they also give Scott and Lori the 25 pounds. And when Scott and Lori get to the freaking roadblock, Lori is pissed.
but it works out in her favor because that girl was there,
Mm, mm. Right? Lori was
like I
bodying
was
this
like,
whole
oh,
thing.
girl, I would not want to be her children.
Yes,
Like on a
but
day, like if I pissed her off, like, oh no,
right. But the teams are mad because they see that Jonathan and Anna gave themselves 15 pounds, but they also burned the express pass. And honestly, because Anna was like, "Oh, I won't be able to do this," but she didn't even try. And I
you did it.
felt that that was such a waste of an express pass, especially on a roadblock like that.
Biggest waste, biggest waste, huge mistake.
Especially when the episode prior, Jonathan did say there's going to come a time in which he does not do well with the heat. And the express pass will come into play because it would be able to like bypass like a heat challenge.
Yeah, I feel like this was a very heat of the moment thing
Hmm.
where I don't think they put a lot of thought into it. I think this is the one place I probably would have supported Jonathan and be like, no, I don't support you and want to use the Express Pass. Girl, you're gonna do that challenge because again, they gave themselves an advantage already.
This
Like,
is true.
girl, just do it.
She didn't even try. This is true. This is also true. But so during the roadblock, we see that the other teams are starting to notice just how Scott and Lori are downplaying their abilities.
Again, Miss Laurie ate that up.
Yes, but what I think Scott and Lori's opportunity was is that they could have played poker a bit better. I think they showed their cards a little too early
hmm hmm
because they used to be
Yeah,
bigger, right? That team, they used to be overweight and they lost all those weight. So now they are really athletic. But they so because they go to the gym, right? They want a healthier lifestyle, and you got to have a healthier lifestyle to keep up with eight boys. Like you're ripping and running everywhere, right? So shout out to Lori because that's an accomplishment. I just think they could have downplayed it, be a little bit more quiet. Right? You can't say, "Oh, she's 48, she's 49 years old," and then come in first or second every time, right? Because then people are going to be like, "Wait, my mom is 69 and she can't do shit." Like Melinda and Erica, right? Like,
literally.
so, like, you have that, and then you have other teams like, "Whoa, maybe Scott and Lori are strong."
Yeah. They start to discover, like, hey, maybe we need to be keeping an eye on that. The math.
The math is not mathing. And then this episode, we were like on like ends of our seats. We were on the edge of our seats for this episode because we saw that Mark and Brett got lost in the taxi. And we almost had a panic attack. We were like, oh my God, are they going home?
That's
Because we
and
didn't
it,
see them on hardly any of the episode.
literally, literally, and it wasn't like a small detour. Like they said, it like cost them. I think it was like 45 minutes.
In the
Like
opposite direction.
that is valuable time. We were texting each other like, "Oh my God, they're going home.
Oh
They're
my God,
going
they're
home."
going home.
And I just kept saying, "I was like, they just need to get to the challenge. As long as one of them is there, and Mark can like eat them up, like they will like get through the challenge really quick." And they also didn't have a 25-pound bag to do, so I feel like I was just like, they just need to get there. One of the teams still has to be there, and they will easily pass them. I was just like, come on, come on. But the fact that we weren't really seeing them got me really nervous, and I was like, oof,
Right. And they did just that. Once Mark got to the roadblock, he was able to body through and power through the whole entire thing, and they were able to finish and make up some time. And they left Bernie and Kerrigan still there because they had the 25 pounds that they had to go through. But because Jonathan and Anna used their express pass, they were the first teams at the detour. But Scott and Lori were quickly right behind them. And so during this detour, I could not pronounce the name, so I was not going to butcher it. But essentially, one of them had to go with getting fruit and putting fruit together and put it on the heads. And the other one had to make kind of like this, like, ornate structure thing with some like paper things and whatnot. But what I found to be really funny was that Jonathan and Anna looked over because they thought that giving Scott and Lori the 25 pounds was going to put them in the back. And as soon as they saw it at the detour, they looked over and Scott and Lori was right there.
face crack, the face crack.
Face
I was
crack
I,
of the season.
I was so happy when they walked in there and they were like, wait, what? And that's when they realized, like, you messed up. We
They
should not
surely
have used the
did.
Express Pass.
They shouldn't have used Express Pass.
And they just pissed off a really strong team.
And they just pissed off a really strong team. Actually, Jonathan and Anna pissed off a lot of the teams
Yeah.
by giving them the different kind of weights of the rice. And we see how that plays out
Hmm.
in the next episode. But for this episode, in the end, Jonathan and Anna, they end up winning the leg. But unfortunately, Bernie and Kerrigan are eliminated.
Yeah, I was not sad to see them go. I'm sorry.
No, at first I thought they were sisters, but apparently they're friends. I thought they were sisters, but they're not.
No, oh, I just, girl, they were bickering like crazy. That
But
was
I
one of
thought they
those
were
bickering
sisters
couples
because of how they
because of
were
the way they bicker.
bickering.
I get it,
Yes.
but that I don't remember. I think it was episode two, maybe three, when they're arguing in the airport, and she's like, "Well, I'm not making any more decisions because apparently I make the wrong decisions or whatever." She was saying that really pissed me off. I'm like, girl, again, you're here to win $1 million. Like, you need to figure out a way to communicate effectively if you want to win this. If not, why are you here? Like,
It's
you're
true.
just wasting. Why you're just wasting somebody else's spot. So ever since that, I just could not get into them. I was a little upset to see them go because hi, Latinas, yes, kind of wanted to root for them, but they made it so difficult to root for
Yeah,
them.
they did.
Um,
Yeah. And they
one
just could not get on the
second,
same
real
page.
quick. Okay, sorry, you can continue. I just need to grab a charger real quick.
Yeah, I mean, they just could not get on the same page. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it was just like, they couldn't do it. So let us get into episode five. So with episode five, we get the surprise double U-turn. And
Hmm.
let's just say the drama begins. So we see a live double U-turn vote. And I think we can both agree that the U-turn vote results were what we expected. Jonathan and Anna and Scott and Lori. Like we kind of expected that. Scott and Lori because obviously the teams are like that's a strong team. They've been downplaying their abilities. Like we got to get them. And then Jonathan and Anna was kind of payback for distributing the weights of the rice and the roadblock. So that made sense. But go ahead.
I was surprised that Nick and whatever his brother's name is got a vote
Oh my God, you was literally
because
get out of my head because I was about to say that Jonathan and Anna choosing Nick and Mike was so random to me.
I feel like it made more sense to choose Carson and Jack because even though I don't think had they won a leg that up to then, I don't remember, but they had been consistently in near the top. So if you're gonna choose a strong team who's very consistent, who's always about to win, Carson and Jack.
Yeah, Carson and
Like,
Jack won the
hi.
first challenge.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was like, wait, I think they had won one, but I couldn't really quite remember. And I think they've been in like top three-ish for the rest
Hmm.
of it. So like that made the most sense to me. I was actually really worried for them. I was like, somebody might put up Carson and Jack.
Right,
And I'm glad nobody did.
right, that too. But I just thought Jonathan and Anna choosing Nick and Mike was such a random choice to me because, like I said, no
Listen,
shade. I like Nick and Mike because they're
I
from
love the
Brooklyn. Because they're from Brooklyn,
girl.
and I always have to rate. I have those have to for like the New York City people. But no shade, nobody's checking for them yet. We don't know what's gonna happen in the other, but nobody's checking for Nick and Mike up until this point. Nobody is. Nick and Mike is not even checking for themselves.
No, I'm gonna need them to put their muscles to good use. This girl, I don't want them to go home. One, like you said, they're from New York. Got to root for our hometown peeps. But
Right,
I just love looking at them. I'm sorry. Read about them. I just love staring at them. I love them on my TV. I want them to be in the finale. Do they have any chance of winning? As of what we've seen so far, no. We don't know what's going to happen in the rest of the season. I just want them on
right,
my screen for as long as possible.
right. And so, listen, we need to talk about the masterminds that is Brett and Mark for leading the charge in this U-turn. Like they mastermind because I don't think they actually essentially like thought they was gonna be the masterminds behind it, but eventually I think they realized, oh shit, we're the catalyst to this. They were a little worried because after Brett and Mark said Scott and Lori, Jonathan and Anna didn't say Scott and Lori. They said Nick and Mike, and so they was looking like, oh my gosh, what did we do?
Like,
Like,
we
did
just,
we just become an right? Did we just become an enemy? But then when Pops and Jeff said. Scott and Lori, they were like, that's it. We've done it. We have done it. And you can see, but baby,
Mad.
Scott and Lori,
They were mad. Oh, they were pressed. And I get it. Like when you see all these teams running against you, but then you see them kind of trying to like pivot and be like, no, we're not strong. And at this point, the teams are like, no, girl, stop lying. Like, you're a big competition. Like, we need you out of here because you have what it takes to win the race. Like, we kind of overlooked
listen,
you at first, but now we're looking at you and we're like, ooh, no, they gotta go. If we want to win, they gotta go. And that
baby,
was fair. Like, at the end of the day, again, you're competing for $1 million. You can do whatever it needs, whatever you need to do to get you to the finale, and win, and like win that last race. Girl, I would have sent them home. I would have voted for them.
Lori, she was like, some of these teams, they are our friends. They're not our friends anymore. She, Lori was pissed. She was livid. Livid. I live
Girl,
for it.
it's
That was her moment and she had it. She was
but it's not
having it.
personal. It's the Amazing Race. It's not personal, girl. It's $1 million.
This is true. Yes. I don't think nobody would have came for them if they would have downplayed their skills a little bit better. They could have done it. They could have played it up and just play it to like chance, like, oh, we just so happen to be good in the challenges without always like, saying, oh, 49, 48, and then doing that because the other teams were picking up on it. So that's the only
Yeah.
reason why they became a target.
Yep.
But in the end, Jonathan and Anna and Scott and Lori, they get 4 votes. And then Nick and Mike got that random 1 vote, which I was like, stupid. But
Yeah.
no one picked Jack and Carson, and they were consistently in the top.
Maybe they were scared of being homophobic, like being portrayed as homophobic or something. I don't know what it was. I'm glad nobody picked Jack and Carson.
Same, right? But I just thought, even I think Jack and Carson also thought that they was probably going to get picked too,
I
because
think so. I
even
think they
they
even
were
mentioned it.
surprised. They were
Yeah.
like, they were in the taxi, like, oh my God, nobody picked us. But they have a really great social game. So Jack and Carson has a social game on lock, and that
And
is
I
how you
hope
do it in a competition like this.
and I hope they continue that so that nobody turns against them. Because in a season of a whole bunch of twists, girl, you need to like stay on everybody's good graces because you never know who's gonna throw you under the bus.
This is so true. You never know. You never know. All right. So at the detour, the teams need to pick between coconuts and coral. And what I found to be hilarious was that the gays was like, child, we doing coral. Like, it's hot. We going for a swim. Like,
Both of them right there next to each other. Girl, Coral. We don't even want to know what coconuts is. We have no interest in coconuts, girl. We going Coral.
the gays was like, we going in the water. Like,
Yep.
we are going in the water, which I thought was really smart, though,
And
because
again,
if you think of it, it was also the easier of the two.
yes and no. If
If,
you if you're someone who pays attention to the details, as the legitimate quads usually do, it made
right.
sense. Go that way. We're not going for the not to say we can't do physical, but like again, hot day. We're in Thailand, right? Was it Thailand? It was Thailand.
No,
No,
it's still
Indonesia.
Bali, Indonesia.
Yeah, my bad. My bad, girls. Girl, we're going for the water. It's hot as hell. It's hot as hell.
Hello. It was smart, right? It was
Yeah.
smart. Carson and Jack, they was like, listen, we going for a dip. Like, we are going for a swim because it is hot outside and it made sense. Like, it made the most sense. And both of
Mhm.
them are good with attention to detail, so they picked up on it really quick. But because
I
obviously
was
Jonathan and Anna and Scott and Laurie needed to do both sides of the detour, I thought it was smart for Scott and Laurie to do the heavy work
yes.
first.
I did not understand Jonathan and Anna's reasoning for it. I would have done the physical one first. I'm like, we're gonna get that out of the way. Uh, so then we can do the easier task that is not as physical. Because if it's the
Hmm.
other way around, by the time we're like finishing the second task, we're gonna be tired as hell, especially in the sun. Again, in
Correct.
the sun, you're gonna be really tired, and we see that that is actually what ends up happening.
Right. Especially because Jonathan says that he does not do well with like the heat. And we
Hmm.
saw that in this challenge. But in the beginning, when Jonathan chooses coral, right? I don't know why he thought that, oh, the challenge is like, oh, just put the coral on the frame and that's it. Why would you
That
think that?
that I mean, we saw Brett and Mark right away. They're like, oh, we gotta make sure we copy it exactly because maybe it's the Amazing Race. It's not just. do this and that's it. Like that's too easy. We got to make sure it matches exactly. We got to make sure it's the right color, the right texture, whatever. I was a little nervous for Carson and Jack because they did not pick up on that right away, but they picked up on it quickly enough to be able to save themselves in
Hmm.
pivots because Jonathan and Anna did not catch on at all. They
At
did the
all.
whole thing and they're like, we're done. And they were like, no, you're not. And they're like,
Right.
well, what are we doing wrong? Girl, you didn't look at the colors.
Hello. And then on the flip side, we see that Scott and Lori just could not get the hang of like the details. And I think at that point they were just so frantic to be in the bottom that they were just like struggling because I don't think in theory, like in a normal situation would have took them that many tries to get
Yeah.
that.
I think, yeah, definitely the situation that they were in, they were very frantic. And in those situations, you tend not to like think everything thoroughly as you usually would. You're just trying to survive. So it kind of made sense to see them struggle or for them to struggle. But it was kind of sad, honestly, because I did like
It's true.
Scott and Laurie.
Yes. And at the roadblock, right, the teams needed to pick a surfboard with a decal and they needed to swim out to many surfers out in the ocean that had and find a decal that was similar to them. And at first I was a little scared because Jack and Carson, they were a little confused.
They
One of
were
them didn't want
like,
to read
was it
one of them
Carson?
didn't
I
want to
think it
read
was
the
Carson.
I think it might have been Carson, or it might have was a Jack. But one of them didn't read the clue correctly and was looking like, oh, it had to be the same color. And the other one was like, it ain't the colors, child. It's
Again,
not the
yeah,
colors.
yeah, but he couldn't tell him because then they get that penalty.
Right.
I forgot what season. I don't remember last. Was it last season? It was not last season.
I don't think it was last season. It was one
It
of
was
the
a,
like the middle seasons.
it was like
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm glad he picked up on it quick though, or quick enough. Because I think if he had picked up on it quicker, he probably could have won.
Hmm.
Or they could have come in first. But at least it wasn't a situation where like they were in the lead and then ended up in the back of the pack.
Right. Yeah. But in the end, right, Mark and Brett, they win their first leg.
Mhm.
And Scott and Lori, unfortunately, were eliminated. And so why I love this episode is because I love when a U-turn actually works and takes out the team that for the intended purpose.
Yes.
I love that because during this whole entire episode, the fight for last place was between Jonathan and Anna and
And
Scott and Lori.
it was down to like the last minute. Like, oh, they were in those challenges together. Like the last challenge, they were doing it like literally at the same time. And you see Jonathan kind of giving up and resting, and Scott is like trying to catch up. And I was like, oh my God, please catch up, please catch up, please catch up. Jonathan, don't wake up. Like no shade, but stay in the water, stay laying down. Don't let Scott
Yeah.
see you, or like don't. I don't want you to see Scott catching up to you because then that'll push you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh my God. I
Yes.
mean, obviously one of them was gonna go home, but I'm like, oh my God, which one is it? And like with the Amazing Race, whenever you sabotage someone, you gotta make sure that it's gonna work, or else they're gonna come for
Yes.
you. You gotta
Because
make
and
sure
that's
whoever,
rare.
yeah,
Yes, it's rare. It doesn't happen too often. But when it does, it's an amazing thing to see. In which we obviously, we commented on the Amazing Race Instagram, and Lori liked our comment. So shout out to Lori for liking the comment. I was like over there fangirling and like, oh my God, Lori liked our comment. But I just thought I really, one, Scott and Lori put up an amazing fight.
they
Like,
did.
not one time that they backed down on any of the episodes. Even when they felt like they was backed against the wall, they still did it. And up to the last minute, I still thought they had a chance to knock out
Same.
Jonathan and Anna.
I was really like, oh my God. Especially like in that last one when like Scott was really catching up to Jonathan. Like they were swimming towards the shore and I'm like, oh my God, come on, Scott, don't give up. Like do it, do it, do it. Like I know your arms hurt right now. You said you're really exhausted, but girl, this is $1 million. Get
Right.
it. And I knew if they had gotten there first, they would have ended up in the front of the pack the next episode. Like, let's be real. But unfortunately, that's not the way the cards fell for them.
Nope, that is not the way the cookie crumbled. And Scott and Lori were eliminated. And honestly, I did not have that on my bingo card. I did not think that Scott and Lori was going to be a team that was going to be eliminated this early in the
Me
game.
neither.
So I was like, ooh, they are strong contenders to be in a finale.
I even texted you when we were watching the episode. I was like, watch them still end up in the top three. Like with this leg of the race, I was like, watch them still be one of the first two teams to arrive at the mat because again, they were that strong. I believed in that much. I thought they had what it take. what it took to like win it all. Apparently, so did everyone else because that's why they had to get rid of them. Which is
This
fair.
is
It is a
true.
competition at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, that is how the Amazing Race is so unpredictable. You never know. But
Hmm.
congrats to Brett and Mark for winning their first leg. We can't wait to see if they win more legs.
We
Hopefully,
love,
we get to see them in the
we
finale.
love, yeah, we love seeing the gays on top. Both of the teams in. This is how it should be the rest of the race. I'm sorry,
Weird.
like, come
Listen,
on.
gay domination, y'all.
Yeah,
But look, yes. But that was our recap, friends. So if you love the laughs, if you enjoyed the shade, and if we had you say no, ma'am, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a single episode. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram at No Ma'am the Podcast. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, or HeartRadio, make sure you rate us and give us 5 stars. And as always, we'll have you saying no, ma'am, and no time. Bye.